Hello and welcome to FPL Mate, your best mate for fantasy Premier League content for the 2022-23 season. My name is Dan and today we are doing the Gameweek 14 transfer tier list, basically. Sorry guys, I've been away for a couple of days. I have been out in Salzburg watching the Chelsea versus Salzburg game for the Champions League. They very kindly invited me out there to do some content over there. And I have brought back for you guys this signed Chelsea shirt, signed by the entire team. So yeah, I got this shirt signed for them, met the entire squad. Absolutely amazing. I know this is going to mean a lot more to some of you guys than it will do to me. Obviously, I'm not a Chelsea fan. So if you want a chance of winning this, I'm going to be giving this away either on Twitter or Instagram. I haven't decided yet. So make sure you're following on Instagram or Twitter at FPL Mate if you want a chance of winning this. It's got all of the big signatures on there. But yeah, hopefully that's going to be good for some of you guys. But I'm back now, finally, in England, and we've got a lot of catching up to do. Starting off with the tier list video today. So if you are enjoying this content, if you are looking forward to some Game Week 14 madness, then please do leave a like on the video and please do subscribe as well if you are new around here. But let's get on with it. Alright guys, so quick reminder of how the tier list actually works. So basically, we're going to put all of these players into these 5 categories. These are the 20 most popular transfers in of the game week at time of recording. And remember guys, I'm ranking these based on how likely I would be to transfer them in, how good I think they are as transfers. So not how good they are to already own. I'm not saying if they're in a low category that you should sell them. I just wouldn't necessarily buy them. So this is for you guys, if you're thinking of buying any of these players, you don't already have them, whether you should buy them or not. Let's start off with the 20th most popular transfer in, and that is going to be Kepa. And I'm not really sure. I like Kepa as a goalkeeper, but I don't think I would actually be transferring him in this week. First of all, bit of a waste of a transfer going for a new goalkeeper, and Chelsea's games are kind of not great between now and the World Cup break. During the World Cup break, obviously we get unlimited transfers, so we really are looking for players for just 3 game weeks. And I think there are some other goalkeepers you could potentially go for, but there's every chance that the goalkeeper you already have is pretty decent as well. So Kepa, not a bad goalkeeper to own, but would I be bringing him in right now? I don't think so. I don't think I would. Ben White, I like him a lot. So we've got Nottingham Forest next for Arsenal, and I think that's going to be a really good opportunity for a clean sheet. And Ben White is obviously really cheap at 4.5 million. So we really like his price point. He's a lot cheaper than all of the other Arsenal defenders that are that real nailed on defender that we know we're going to get a start out of every single game week. So for that reason, I like him a lot. I still think right now he's the best 4.5 million defender to own, the best cheap defender to own in the entire game. Obviously, he got a nice assist last week and a bonus point as well. So those of you guys who went in on White when we spoke about him last week, congratulations. You've done pretty well. Didn't even need a clean sheet to get the points, which is pretty nice. Rashford, I think I would probably avoid. I know that Manchester United's fixtures are kind of listed as green fixtures, but the likes of Aston Villa, the likes of West Ham, I don't think these are easy fixtures. These are 2 teams that have actually been fairly defensively solid. They're not giving up too many chances really to the opposition. So not really too keen on Rashford. I wouldn't be going for him right now. And I think there are a lot of other midfielders that I really prefer. And there are a lot of really good midfielders at the moment. So yeah, definitely midfielders are the ones to keep an eye on this week if you haven't already got like a really nice midfield. Iwobi, I think, is kind of optional. He's been in some really good form recently. And Everton have some great fixtures. We've got Fulham next, which is, pretty much the best fixture you can have right now. Fulham are pretty tragic in defence. So maybe there's going to be some more opportunities for Iwobi. I think he's a fairly decent player to own at 5.5 million is a really good price for him as well. So yeah, I quite like Iwobi. I wouldn't say he's an absolute must buy by any stretch of the imagination, but he's an option. If you do want to go for that differential, then maybe you could consider him. Wouldn't be top of my list though. Fabian Schär, Newcastle have got some okay fixtures. They're kind of mid. I think 4.9 million is now slightly too expensive for a Fabian Schär. I would prefer to go for one of the cheaper defenders from Newcastle. If you're going to go for a centre-back who's pretty much only going to get you clean sheet points pretty much, then I would prefer to go for a Botman, really, I think. So I think, again, we have to put Schär in bad transfer. Not because he's a bad player, not because he's bad to have in your team, but just because if you're going to go for that Newcastle defender, Fabian Schär is not the one I'm going to go for personally, so don't really like him too much. Let's put him actually below Kepa, because at least Kepa is kind of one of the better options in his position. Schär is not even the best defender to buy in his team. If you're going to spend more money, go for Trippier. If you don't want to spend the money, go for someone a little bit cheaper. Even Ben White, who's already on this tier list, would prefer to go for him than Fabian Schär at the moment. Cancelo next, I still think is a player that is... is he must buy? He's up there, isn't he? He's a player who is really a player you want to own. I know a lot of you guys are going to have him already. But if you don't, maybe you sold him for game week 12, I would really strongly consider getting him back in. We are going to be expecting some clean sheets coming up from Manchester City. I know Cancelo kind of blows hot and cold sometimes. Sometimes he gets a 1-pointer or a 2-pointer, but other times he does get those 10-pointers, those 15-pointers, and he really can go nuclear. And he's one of those players who, if he has a really good game week and you don't have him in your team, you are really, really going to suffer for it. So let's stick him in great transfer. I still think he's a priority move if you don't really have him yet. Haaland, let's not make any mistakes about this. I know all of you guys are going to have him already. I would love to hear if any of you in the comment section don't have Haaland in your team right now. If you don't, you need to get on it, man. Like, you seriously do. Once again, in game week 13, smashed it. He's back, you know, we saw a break from Haaland, you know, didn't play in game week 12. Week before that, didn't score against Liverpool, although he came close to getting an assist if that goal wasn't ruled out. But he's still a player who's going to be scoring mad goals this season. It's going to be quite dangerous to go about him. Really, really dangerous. Martinelli, I think, is a great transfer. I still think he's pretty good. He's still, like, probably the best at his price point, you would say, around that 6 million to 7 million mark. Martinelli is going to be your #1 pick. So if that's your budget that you're looking to spend, here's the one I'd be going for. If you've got a little bit more money, then there's maybe one more Arsenal or midfielder that I would consider ahead of Martinelli if you have that spare cash. Castagna, I think, is a straight up avoid. I'm going to put him bottom of the list, actually, because I think it's quite strange to buy a defender who's about to play against Man City. If you are really looking to get Castagna in your team, then maybe you can afford to wait one more game week. Just, like, hold off one more week, because even if you buy Castagna right now, are you even going to start him? I probably wouldn't. There's a myriad of 4.5 million defenders that I'd much rather play in game week 14 than Castagna. So he is going to stay firmly in the avoid section. I'm kind of confused as to why he is so popular, other than the fact that he scored well the last few game weeks. So I wonder if the people transferring him in are people who are just looking at, oh, who scored well in the last few game weeks, and not really considering that this next game against Manchester City is literally almost like by far the toughest fixture you can have as a defender. So I'm going to leave him firmly in avoid, even if you think he's going to get attacking returns. You know, City are still a very good defense as well, so I wouldn't be expecting too much from him. I think it is not the week to buy him at all. Dalot is a little bit random. I'm not really sure why people are going for him. I understand the fixtures are okay, but this one doesn't really fill me with too much excitement. This is kind of a meh transfer. You know, I do prefer him to some of these other guys who you see on the list. You know, we've obviously got Fabian Schär. We've obviously got Castagna on there already. You would say Dalot is in a similar price bracket to these guys, but would he be top of the list? Again, not really. I prefer a Ben White. I prefer some of the other defenders. You know, even the other Newcastle defenders who are a little bit cheaper, I'd rather go for them. You know, Anderson at Crystal Palace, or Mark Gahey at Crystal Palace. These guys I would quite like to have a look at as well ahead of Dalot. Obviously, none of those defenders from Crystal Palace are going to be on this tier list because they're not very popular transfers in, but I still would prefer to go for one of them than a Dalot right now. Just about. But look, Dalot is okay. If you're a Manchester United fan, you want to back your team and get a player who could get some clean sheets in there as well, then you can do worse. You can do worse, but I think you can do a little bit better as well. Saka, I like him. I like him a lot. I'm going to put him pretty high. I'm going to put him in great transfer. I'm actually going to put him ahead of the likes of his teammates, Martinelli and White. I do prefer Saka. He is getting more chances to score. He's on penalties as well. He's playing very well at the moment, and Arsenal are in reasonably good form, despite the fact of a minor slip-up, you could perhaps call it, against Southampton in game week 13. You're still going to think that they're going to be one of the better teams over the next 3 game weeks. They've got some decent fixtures as well. Saka is obviously a great player in general, but did insanely well. One of the highest scoring players in FPL last season as well. So he's got that consistency behind him. I like him. If you can afford to get Saka, I think he would really be a good transfer for you guys to go for. I wouldn't sacrifice necessarily, you know, if you've got Zaha in your team or something like that. I don't know if I'd sacrifice Zaha, but if you've got kind of a 7 to 8, maybe 9 million midfielder in your team that you're not really sure you want to keep them. You're kind of thinking, I don't know if I want this player anymore. Saka is a very, very good replacement. Saliba, you're going to be not surprised at all to see me put him low. Like, every single time I make a tier list, and Saliba is always in these tier lists because he's constantly one of the most popular transfers in. Constantly. You guys say, Dan, do you hate Saliba or something? I really don't. I really don't hate him at all. But Saliba offers you pretty much the same amount as Ben White. but he's 0.7 million cheaper. And people always say to me, yeah, but Saliba is a real goal threat. He takes shots on, he creates passes. He has created 0 chances in the last 5 game weeks. He's taken 1 shot in the last 5 game weeks. Like, that is nothing. Like, 1 shot. That shot happened to end up in a goal. Fair enough. But, like, this is not enough. We need some, we need some defenders who are taking a lot of shots on. Even the likes of, Dalot and Sharon and players like that. Even Ben White is taking more shots on and creating more as well. We saw an assist from him last game week. So, I don't really see why you would go for Saliba right now. If you bought him earlier on in the season, you got him for 4.5 million, even if you got him for 4.8 million or something like that, I would absolutely 100% keep Saliba if you have him already. But would I bring him in right now? No way, because there's better options at a cheaper price, and that's what we're looking for. That's what FPL was all about, trying to find the best value for money, trying to find the best players. And not only is Saliba more expensive, but his attacking output right now is just less. It's just less than a lot of these other players who are significantly cheaper than him. So he's going in bad transfer. I'm sorry, not sorry. Saliba owners, I know you're going to be upset with me. Keep him, please do keep him. But anyone who doesn't own Saliba right now, stop sorting by highest point scoring defenders. Look towards the future. Don't look too much in the past, because I think Ben White is going to be your guy if you want that Arsenal defender. Hopefully most of you guys are going to agree with that. Tony is kind of like meh. Like, again, a player I'm not particularly enthusiastic about, but, if you want to get him, I think Brentford's fixtures are okay. Obviously, Tony has got penalties, which is always nice, but does he excite me? Does he strike me as a player I would be looking to buy right now? Maybe. I mean, if you really need a forward around that price, then, he's fine. But would I be 100% on him? Absolutely not. Kieran Trippier is still smashing it, so I guess we have to put him in the great transfer category. He seems to be full of points, although we didn't expect too much from him in that Spurs game. And I did say to you guys, to be fair, and you guys hated this last week again, you hated this when I put Trippier in a bad transfer for game week 13. You said, how can you say that? He scores points every week. And I kind of stepped back and I said, look, this fixture, if we're looking at one fixture over the next 4 where Trippier is not going to score points, it is going to be game week 13. And that's exactly what happened. And I think if you guys just waited 1 more week to this week to buy Trippier, then I think you're on for a good thing. You've bypassed the blank. So that was a good thing. Now we can look forward to hopefully getting back to some point scores from Trippier. So I'm going to put him like, I don't know, somewhere around here. I don't know. Yeah, like, he needs to be reasonably high, right? Maybe I even prefer him to Saka. Nah, let's put him there. Let's put him between Saka and Ben White. Let's break up these Arsenal boys, because as the Arsenal boys, they're too close together. They're chatting with each other. They're probably spreading rumours. We don't want to hear any of that. Let's put Trippier, break up the friendship group. It's like in school, when you're in school where you weren't allowed to sit with your friends. That's what I'm doing in the tier list as well. Harry Kane, I think, is probably still the second best. Still the second best premium to have in your team. I know it's kind of difficult to fit him in sometimes. Is he a great transfer? Is he optional? I think you could afford to go without Kane. If you wanted to go without Kane, you could, but I still think if you are looking for that second premium player, like if you're desperate to sell Salah, like I know a lot of you guys are, I wouldn't be desperate to sell Salah ahead of Leeds. But if you are, Kane is probably my preferred replacement in terms of a player in that same price bracket. So let's put him bottom of the great transfer, because I think he's pretty good. Pretty good transfer to make. Not essential, but, I think there's strong arguments to go for him. Phil Foden, arguably a must-buy. I know a lot of you guys are going to be disappointed. What a surprise, by the way, last game week, to see Foden on the bench. Like, nobody saw that coming. He's been nailed on, like, pretty much more nailed on than anyone else in his team, bar Haaland and Ederson, maybe. Like, he's been more nailed on than even, like, De Bruyne, which is just amazing. So, Foden, definitely a player who you need to be getting. I know last week was disappointing, but now that he's had his rest, if you like, that's usually an indication that a player is going to start playing more games and going to get more fixtures under their belt, which is good, because when he's been playing, he's been absolutely phenomenal, creating chances, taking shots on, really taking advantage of the fact that he's playing up front, kind of, alongside Haaland, so amazing stuff. Mitrovic, like him a lot still. Has he been a bit of a penalty merchant recently? Maybe. And because he's only really scoring penalties at the moment, I wonder if I can bump him down a little bit. He's still my favourite, of the cheaper forwards to own right now. I'd rather have him than a Tony. I'd rather have him than a Solanke maybe. and some of the other guys. Callum Wilson, I'd rather have Mitrovic. But would I be definitely buying him? I don't think he's a must-buy. Is he a great transfer? If that's what you're looking for, if that's the kind of price bracket forward you're looking for, then I think he is a pretty great transfer, and I'd probably put him ahead of Kane. Let's break up some more Arsenal boys and put him in there. Trossard seems a bit of a weird transfer. Chelsea up next. It's not a great fixture. I know he scored against Man City. I know he's a very good player. I would probably personally wait one more game week before bringing in Trossard, but at the same time, you can't deny the fact that he is playing well. He is creating chances. He is getting chances. I just wonder if we can wait a little bit longer for a slightly better opportunity to hop on Trossard. Maybe just wait one more game week. But at the same time, he is an option. If you're looking for that 6.8 million midfielder, though, and you don't have Martinelli already, I would go for Martinelli. I probably, to be fair, wouldn't have more than one 6.8 million midfielders in your team right now, because we do want to be loading up on those 8 million midfielders at the moment as well, don't we? And maybe you've got a premium one in there as well, such as De Bruyne, who I'm going to, unfortunately, put in optional. And you guys aren't going to like this. I know you guys aren't going to like this, but let me talk, as De Bruyne would say. I'm going to put him there because I just feel like you're only allowed 3 Man City players, and to me, it's very obvious to me who the best 3 Man City players to own are. And you can tell that already by just looking at this tier list. The 3 players that I've ranked highest on this tier list are Cancelo, Foden, and Haaland. Those are the 3 guys you're going to want to be getting. I know De Bruyne played and, you know, scored points in game week 13. Is that necessarily an indication of him scoring points in the future? Perhaps, but for a 4 million less, and 4 million is a huge chunk of your budget, I think Foden is actually going to not just match De Bruyne, but possibly even outscore De Bruyne, and you get him for so much cheaper. So if you're in a debate with yourself, Foden versus De Bruyne, to me, the answer is always Foden. If you're in an argument with yourself, De Bruyne versus Haaland, you know, the answer is always Haaland. I could maybe consider kind of removing Cancelo and going for De Bruyne and just going all in on that Man City attack, which is what puts him in the optional category, because I feel like that is a possibility. I still prefer to have one Man City defender personally, but there's your option. Basically, make sure you've got Haaland and Foden. They're your 2 priority Man City players. And then after that, Cancelo is probably the one you're going to want to have. If not, maybe you can go for De Bruyne. It's an option, but that's just about it. And Almiron, it's difficult to call him anything other than a great transfer. He's the best player at his price bracket by a country mile. Newcastle's fixtures might be kind of mid for an attacker, but he's in such good form right now, isn't he? He's nailed himself on. He is ridiculously cheap. And he seems to be full of confidence, and confidence breeds confidence. Confidence breeds goals. Goals breed more goals. And I think that is possibly going to continue a little bit longer. So let's put him here in a great transfer, pretty high up the list. I would still be prioritizing making sure you've got those Man City players in, definitely Arsenal players maybe, but after that, the Newcastle boys, they're doing really well at the moment. Newcastle absolutely smashing it this season, and you probably are going to want to invest in those players who are playing for a team where all of their players are really cheap, right? All of their players are really cheap. We've got a new Leicester in a way. You remember Leicester from years and years and years ago, where we didn't expect them to do very well. So what you had is these players who are playing at, you know, top 4 level, really, who are really cheap and priced really nicely in the kind of mid-table team kind of category. So Almiron is definitely one of those players, and that for me is going to conclude the tier list. I've been a little bit harsher this week. We have put a few more players in bad transfers and avoids than we did last game week, but there's still a lot of great transfers in here. There's a lot of great options for you to go for among the most popular transfers in. So let me know what you think about these guys. Have I really messed this up? Do you think these players are in the right place? Is there any players you would move from one category to another? And also, if there are any players who are not on this list, let me know in the comments, and I'll let you know where I would put them on this tier list as well. That's going to be the end of the video, guys. Don't forget, if you want to win this signed Chelsea shirt, signed by the entire Chelsea first team who were in the Champions League squad yesterday, then do go check out my Instagram and Twitter at FPL Mate, and we'll announce some kind of competition. I'll give it to one of you guys, because I know a lot of you guys are going to get a real kick out of that. I know that will be an important item for you guys to have in your collection. So there we go, guys. Make sure you are liking, make sure you are subscribing if you haven't done already. Get those notifications on, because we've got some real good Game Week 14 content to come. We're going to do all of the content. We're just going to squeeze it into a shorter period of time, but we'll try and get everything out still. But yeah, thank you once again for watching. I'm going off to now record Buy, Sell, Keep, Avoid, because we've got to get another video out today. if we can. I'm going to do my best to try and get something out by like midnight, I guess. But let's see. Thank you guys for watching once again, and I'll see you later, mates. Bye-bye.